Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 982 of Screw the Commute podcast. Today we're going to talk about some Wi-Fi stuff. You know, so many of my students just don't understand what's going on with this, and their Zoom things lock up and it takes forever to upload or download stuff. So we're going to talk about what to do about that today. Hope you didn't miss episode 981. That was review deletions. This is going to tell you, you kill yourself to get good reviews, but did you realize that like 73% of 5-star reviews get deleted by Google? All right. So we're going to tell you what to do about that kind of stuff. Make sure you pick up a copy of our automation ebook at screwthecommute.com/automate free and check out my mentor program, the longest running, most unique, most successful ever in the field of internet and digital marketing at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And don't forget, participation in that gets you a scholarship to the only licensed dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country, imtcva.org, certified to operate by SHEV, the State Council on Higher Education in Virginia, but you don't have to live in Virginia because it's distance learning. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is router versus Wi-Fi extender versus mesh systems. All right, now this isn't going to be a big technical discussion, so don't worry about that. But why am I talking about this? Well, I've had 1,800 high-level students of all walks of life, big professionals and beginners and young people, and I just noticed that they don't really understand what's going on with their internet connection. And like I said, I'm trying to do a Zoom training call with them, and it says unstable connection, or it just locks up, and I see their picture just static right there, and it's totally dead. It just wastes so much time for all of us. Now, I will say that hardwired connections are always the best. And that's with what they call a cat cable. And if you go buy a cat cable, make sure it's at least a cat 6 for when I'm recording this. That's the speed it can handle. So if you hardwire, it's always going to give you the fastest possible speeds that you and more stable connection than any Wi-Fi ever. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, it's a pain in the neck sometimes to run wires, but I had one student who didn't want to run a wire because, it'll ruin the aesthetics of my new condo. And she's there trying to get, do internet business, and her crap internet provider was bad enough as it is, and then she made it worse by trying to use Wi-Fi in this building that it just sucked. So either get serious about doing a internet business and put up with some wires sometimes, or don't do internet business. Go, whatever you want to do. Okay. But anyway, these Ethernet wires, some of the new houses and apartments are already pre-wired. So that can help you out if you just check that out with the landlord or when you purchase a house to see what the story is on the Ethernet pre-wired houses. All right. So here's the deal. Pretty much everybody starts out with what is called a router. It's usually a little plastic box with some antennas sticking up, little like 6 or 8 inch antennas sticking up out of it. And that's where the internet comes into your house and goes into that router. And then you can either plug into the router. You can actually do both. You can plug into the router if you want a hardwired connection somewhere far from the router, or the router sends out Wi-Fi signals that you can pick up on your cell phone, tablet, and desktops. Okay? Well, here's the deal with that. Let's say you have a house and the internet connection comes in on one end of the house. And that's where they're going to put the router. Well, that router's got to send a wireless signal through all your walls and all the crap in your house all the way to the other end of the house. All right. And usually it'll crap out halfway through your house, at least if you have just a reasonably small house. So what do you do about that? Let's say this is the first level. We're not talking fancy mesh systems and all this stuff, just the first level. Well, if you can run a wire from where your internet coming into your house and either under your floor, under your carpets, over your ceiling, or even, if you're desperate, just run it around the baseboard, and then put your router in the middle of your house. This way, instead of having to send the signal all the way to the other end of your house, it's only sending it halfway because it's in the middle of your house. So it covers one side of your house and the other side of your house. So that would be the first thing I would try if I didn't want to buy these bigger things that help handle it. Just place the router better. Now, this is probably a good time to tell me, well, how do you tell what your signal really is? Well, you can do what's called a speed test. And the most famous one, and the one I've been using for years and years and years is, and it's usually the first one that comes up if you Google speed test, it's by Ookla, Ookla. I'm not sure it makes any difference, but that's the one I use just for consistency. So basically, you just log on to it on your cell phone, your tablet, or your laptop, or your desktop. But if you're trying to find out where to place things in your house, it's best if you use a tablet or cell phone. I mean, because it's a little bit unwieldy to carry your laptop around, and try to do this, but you can. But anyway, you log on to Ookla and you stand in a certain place, a speed test by Ookla, and then you hit go. And then you just wait about a minute and it gives you an upload and download speed. And then you go somewhere else in your house and do the same thing, usually at the same time of day, because internet can change depending on time of day and how many people are on it. So you go somewhere else in your house. You say, oh, geez, right at my desk, I'm getting a terrible upload and download speed, but over here in the middle of the living room, it's great. So then you move the router and then you try it again, and you go until you get where where you need the best signal, where you place the router so that it gives you the best signal where you need it. All right. So and the higher the better, and don't bury it in a closet somewhere. You got to give it its best chance to get that Wi-Fi signal to you. Okay. So that would be the first step. Now, let's say you got this same house and it's pretty good in most of the house, but maybe one or two rooms is terrible. So the next step, and the cheapest and easiest step, would be to get a Wi-Fi extender, it's called. So basically, you have to make sure it's compatible with your router, but then you pair the two together and you put it over near the place where you're getting the bad signal, and you have to plug it into the wall for power. And then that should jack up the signal, grabs the signal from the router and moves it over to where the dead spots were in your house. And that might do the trick for you. And some of them are as cheap as $50. Okay. Now the next step, and this is one I have to do. I don't really have a choice. I have a 7,500 foot, the retreat center here. It's all brick. And also what your house is made of, inside and outside, has to do with it. And there's 2 stories. So moving that router around is not going to do crap for this place. All right. So that's when you upgrade to what we call a mesh system. And I happen to use a company called Eero, E-E-R-O, and I have the 6E version. And it comes in a 3-pack or a 2-pack, depending on what you need. And in that case, it's these little white things, they're about the size, of a small, like a saucer. And some of them are upright and some of them are flat. Doesn't make any difference. And I plug it into the router, the first one. And these are, each place where you put one of these things is called a node, N-O-D-E. But the first one, you plug it with a wire into your router. Doesn't matter how long the wire is, even. So you can run 100 feet from your router and still beautiful. Plug your node in wherever you need it, because that node is going to be hardwired to your router, get a great signal, and then it's going to throw Wi-Fi out into the world in your house. Okay. And one thing, here's another little sidebar here, is if it's near a window, like I have one in my kitchen, and from the kitchen, you can see through the windows out to the pool. So Wi-Fi signal loves windows. It goes through them easily. So I placed it so that I don't have to put another outdoor one, which are more expensive, out to the pool in the tennis court area. It goes right through the window, and I walked clear to the end of my pool, which is 50,000 gallon pool. It's enormous. And I got good signal clear to the end of the pool where nobody really would, all the chairs are even closer than that. So the pool chairs. So that's a tip for you if you want to cover some outside stuff, is keep it near a window. Okay. So now I have one node plugged into the router wherever it needs to be. And then that node is going to send signals to its other nodes. So I bought a 3-pack to start with, and then I bought another 3-pack. So I got 6 in this giant house here. But here's how it works. After the first one is plugged into the router, it sends a signal to another one of those things that has to be plugged into the wall. And the other one picks it up and then distributes where it's at. And so I have one here near my podcast station. I have one over in my other living room. Then I have one above it in the breezeway. I have one in the upstairs hallway. I have one in the master bedroom suite. So they all are sending signals to each other to make those areas have really good speed. And I can walk around with my cell phone and say, oh, look at this. I'm getting massive, great speed where I used to get crap speed. All right. So that's called a mesh system. It's more expensive, no doubt. And when I was buying it at Best Buy, this is something I hate to have to say this kind of stuff, that TP-Link used to be one of the top people to do this. That was the brand. But as some of you may know, DJI, the Chinese drone company, is under attack and could get banned. And so the guy said, I'm afraid to suggest TP-Link stuff anymore, which used to be one of the greatest ones, because of all the anti-Chinese sentiment about it, and might get banned. So Eero is a very good brand, EERO, and you can even go up to Wi-Fi 7, but it gets really, really expensive then. So Eero 6E is what I got, and it's kicking butt on this house. Now, one other thing is I can run a wire from the first node all the way to my garage TV studio, which is another 4,000 square feet building, but it's 100 feet from the main building. So I can run a hard wire from one of the nodes, the main node that's hooked to the router, all the way to that other building, and then plug in another couple nodes there, and it covers me working on cars, it covers the TV studio, it covers the whole garage, and past that is our fire pit area and gazebo. It covers that. So now it is possible, if I really needed a lot of coverage at the fire pit, which we don't use all that often, I would put an outside extender on the outside the building, waterproof, and send the signal even further there. But don't really need that at this point. So anyway, that's what mesh systems do. Now, there's one other thing that's a possibility that I personally haven't ever used. It's called a power line extender. And it uses the electrical wires in your house. And there's 2 parts to it. So you plug in one part of your house, and then you plug in the other at the dead spot that you're trying to get good signal. And it uses the electrical wires in your house to get through all the obstacles to give you a good signal in that area. So that's called a power line extender. All right. So anyway, let's break this down. You can, if a small house, you can use a router and then even go to a Wi-Fi extender really cheap and easily. Just place the router properly and so forth, and you should be all right. When you get to bigger houses, you probably want to go to a mesh system because the Wi-Fi extenders, you have to get too many of them, and they're not that great to start with. They're real cheap. You know, they're only designed for small areas. So you want to go to a mesh system, and then just learn how to use the speed test to walk around and find the dead spots and keep moving the nodes around till you get them highest speeds where you need them the most. And there you go. So that's a little bit on, should help you get your speeds up, quit the unstable connection errors. Now, if you notice, and you're doing these speed tests and you notice you're not getting the speeds that you're paying for with your internet provider, a lot of these things will allow you to print out a thing of all the speeds you've checked, and then you use that as proof, because a lot of these internet providers are scumbags, and they sell you one thing, but with the caveat, you'll never get that maximum speed. But if it's half the speed you're paying for, you should be complaining about it. But this gives you some proof, because you can do all these speed tests and print out the results and say, look, this is not acceptable. You either give me a discount if you can't increase the speed, or get me the speed that I'm paying for. All right, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you want help with this, and you have my tech guys and me and the marketing and the video, all the crap that we teach you, check out my mentor program at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com and my school at imtcva.org. All right, we'll catch you all in the next episode. See you later.